Hey guys, for this one I'm going to show you just the simplest tessellation. It's called the translation tessellation. So for this one, as always, you need your paper that you're going to draw on, scissors, pencil, tape, and your template. This one we're just going to start with a square. All right. First thing we want to do is label our template. This one we want to have A's opposite of each other and B's opposite. So you see how A is across from A, B is across from B. Key thing with this, they gotta be opposite. So the first thing we wanna do on one of our A sides is we want to draw a little design. Now this design's gotta go from corner to corner. So this one I gotta make sure I get all the way over to the corner. You don't wanna go too far down into the center, although you could if you wanted to. But make sure it's one continuous line going from corner to corner. We're going to cut that out. Now for my template, I'm just using regular paper. I printed off my templates that I gave you guys online, but I'd recommend if you have the chance, if you have anything thicker at home that you could use, maybe a note card, cardstock, or even scrapbook paper, it's gonna make your life easier for each of these tessellation projects, just because your template's gonna be more sturdy. But you gotta use what you got. I happen to have regular paper. Now, as I cut this out, this is going to be our template later on. So it is okay if I do not follow my lines exactly. The key things here is to have one solid cut. I don't want any jagged edges, and to go all the way from corner to corner. All right, so we see how I cut that out. Now, I need to translate it. So if we think back to our math terms, translation of a shape just means that you're going to slide it. So I'm going to slide it down so the A's are touching. So you see how we have the A and the A together. I'm going to get a little piece of tape. Now we want to line up our edges exactly, making sure corners are lined up, flat sides are nice and flat, not at an angle. Then we're going to tape it down. There we go. Some tape. There. So I translated or slid the A down to the other A. So directly across and tape down. We're going to do the same thing on side B. So I'm going to go from this side. I think I'll make this one a little bit more jagged, but still going all the way from corner to corner. One solid line. Now, one solid cut. Now these zigzags are going to be a little bit harder to cut, so I might have to adjust a little bit while I cut in the air. Remember, it's got to be one solid cut. I could not cut these each out individually. That's not going to work. So I think I'm going to have to, I'm definitely going to have to adjust this. That's going to happen. Sometimes your original sketch is not going to be as easy as you thought, so you have to mix it up a little bit. So you see, I'm not following my lines exactly anymore. That is okay. It's just a line to sketch. Now make sure, don't go off the edge. It's got to be one solid piece and all the way to the corner. So there we go. So now I have my B piece. I'm going to translate it, slide it across, and I'm going to tape it in place, lining up the corners and the edges. A piece of tape, line it all up, hold it in place, tape it down. Now, this might happen. If you can tell, there's a little piece of tape here that sticks off past the edge. I gotta make sure I cut and get rid of that. It's also covering up a little spot right there. You gotta cut to get rid of it. You can't just fold it over, because we gotta have that edge of the paper exactly how we cut it the first time, because we need the two sides to match. So I'm just going to cut back that tape that covered up my openings. There we go. Now we're good. So next thing, I need to take my paper and I'm going to start tracing this. Now when you trace, the main thing you want to keep in mind is going slow and steady. If you go too fast, it's going to mess things up. Now, I personally don't like to go straight across with things. I like to go at a bit of an angle. I think it makes things a little more interesting. So I'm going to hold my template down. I start in the middle of my paper, And then I'm going to keep my pencil straight up and down, and I'm going to trace around the entire thing, making sure that my template does not move. Take your time, trace it exactly how you see it here. It is better to go slow and steady when tracing. If you go too fast, you'll mess up your edges, and that's going to make it harder later to line up other tracings next to it, which I'll show you here in a second. Almost. Just back. There we go. So I've traced one. Now you want to try to take your template and line it up so it fits. So if I slide it or translate it, notice how this edge and this edge fit into each other. So I can line those up, hold it in place, and I'm going to trace around the entire thing. I'm going to do this many, many more times, filling up the entire page. I'll show you that process nice and fast, and then come back and talk about the finished product. All right, there we go. So you can see how I filled the entire page. Now you really want to start in the center for a couple reasons. One, you're going to have your best tracings when you first start. After a while, you're going to get sick of it, and things are going to start to get a little sloppy. So if you take your time on the ones in the center, your piece is going to look better, and by the time you're tired, it's off to the edge, and you might not even see all of it. Sometimes things might not line up exactly right, because maybe you were a little off when you traced the one before. That's okay. Just line things up as close as you can, trace around it, make sure you get that whole space filled. And there you go. That is the translation tessellation.